Welcome to Caroline Effect, where strong mindset, self-respect, and timeless relationship wisdom help you become the man who never has to chase validation. Most men don't lose a woman's respect because of one big mistake. They lose it through small habits they never notice. The truth is, attraction doesn't disappear overnight. It fades when healthy boundaries are missing. In this video, you'll discover the 5 boundaries that quietly shape respect, attraction, and relationship dynamics from the very beginning. Stay until the end because one of these could completely change the way you approach dating forever. If you've ever looked back at a relationship and wondered exactly when a woman stopped treating you with respect, this is for you. That shift usually doesn't happen overnight. More often, it begins because important boundaries were never established in the beginning. The early stage of dating is where respect is either built or weakened. There are 5 essential boundaries that shape whether she continues to value you or slowly starts taking you for granted. Ignore even one of them, and you may find yourself constantly giving more, feeling confused, and trying to figure out why everything changed. This isn't about becoming cold, manipulative, or trying to control anyone. It's about recognizing the moments where men unintentionally give away their position and learning how to avoid those mistakes before attraction fades into simple convenience. If you never learn these boundaries, you risk more than losing someone's respect. You risk losing your own identity while trying to earn it back. Most advice focuses on fixing problems after they appear. This is about preventing them by creating a healthy foundation from the start. Confidence matters, but structure matters even more. Boundaries create that structure, and structure determines whether you're leading your own life or constantly adjusting to someone else's expectations. If you're ready to stop guessing and start understanding how healthy relationship dynamics are created, make sure you like the video and subscribe to. Once you understand these patterns, you'll stop chasing validation and start protecting your own standards. The first boundary is one many men overlook. Don't give someone access to your financial world before they've earned that level of trust. A lot of men believe talking openly about money is simply being honest. They mention their salary, savings, investments, expensive purchases, or future travel plans because they think transparency creates connection. But early in dating, that information often does something very different. Instead of building closeness, it gives someone material to evaluate you. Rather than discovering who you are as a person, she may begin unconsciously assessing what kind of provider you could be. Without realizing it, you've shifted the conversation away from genuine attraction and toward practical judgment. Many men don't even notice they're doing it. A casual comment about a bonus, a promotion, or how much they've saved feels harmless. Yet, every detail becomes another piece of information that shapes how they're viewed. The focus quietly moves from chemistry to capability. The mistake comes from believing financial value automatically increases romantic value. While generosity has its place, trying to prove your worth through money too early often removes the mystery that naturally builds attraction. Instead of being appreciated for your personality and character, you risk being viewed primarily through what you can offer materially. The same principle applies when financial problems enter the conversation. If you immediately step in to solve them before any real commitment exists, the relationship can quietly change direction. Instead of becoming an equal partner, you begin filling the role of someone expected to provide support without receiving the trust, loyalty, or commitment that should come first. Sometimes these situations are subtle. She might casually mention expensive repairs, unexpected bills, or financial stress. She may not directly ask for help. Instead, she's paying attention to how quickly you feel responsible for fixing things. Many men assume that immediately rescuing someone demonstrates strength and leadership. In reality, acting without boundaries can make your behavior predictable. Once you're seen as the person who always solves problems regardless of the relationship stage, it's easy for your value to become tied to your usefulness rather than your presence. The healthier response doesn't require arguments or long explanations. You don't need to defend your decision or feel guilty for maintaining limits. Stay calm, be respectful, and keep your financial boundaries intact until mutual trust and commitment have naturally developed. Interestingly, someone who is genuinely interested in building a healthy relationship will usually respect those boundaries. A person whose interest depends mainly on what you can provide may become frustrated or lose interest altogether. If that happens, you've learned something valuable early instead of much later. Strong boundaries aren't designed to push good people away. They help reveal people's true intentions before deeper emotional investment takes place. Protecting your resources isn't selfish, it's part of protecting your self-respect. Real leadership begins with knowing that access to every part of your life, including your finances, should be earned rather than automatically given. The second boundary is just as important. Never normalize disrespect, especially when it appears in subtle ways. Most men imagine disrespect as something obvious, shouting, insults, or open hostility, but that's rarely how it begins. The kind that changes a relationship is usually much quieter, making it easy to overlook until it becomes a pattern. It can be as simple as constantly talking over you, making little jokes at your expense and brushing them off with, "I'm only kidding," comparing you to an ex, or disappearing for hours while expecting you to respond immediately whenever she reaches out. Each moment feels too small to challenge, and that's exactly why it matters. In many cases, these moments aren't about cruelty, they're about seeing where your limits are. It's a silent question. Will he accept this? Boundaries are often tested little by little. If every small step goes unchecked, the next one usually becomes even bigger. Picture a situation many men have experienced. You're with her and a group of friends. The conversation tends toward your relationship, and she laughs while making a comment that subtly puts you down. Everyone else laughs too. You force a smile because you don't want to make things awkward. But something important has just happened. She publicly lowered your status. And more importantly, she noticed how you handled it. The real issue isn't the joke itself, it's your response. If you ignore it every time, you aren't showing confidence or maturity. You're unintentionally communicating that your standards are flexible. Once someone believes there are no consequences for crossing your boundaries, they'll often continue doing it. Not necessarily because they're trying to hurt you, but because you've shown them the line isn't there. Many men believe staying silent makes them appear calm and emotionally strong. Sometimes it does, but when disrespect becomes a pattern, silence can also be interpreted as acceptance. Every ignored moment becomes part of a larger pattern, and patterns eventually shape the relationship. The consequences rarely appear overnight. One overlooked comment becomes another. Public teasing becomes private disrespect. Gradually, the tone changes, effort declines, and the relationship loses the balance it once had. Men with strong self-respect don't react with anger, sarcasm, or revenge. They don't create unnecessary drama or try to embarrass the other person. Instead, they calmly address the behavior the moment it crosses a line. A short, respectful response is often enough to communicate that certain treatment isn't acceptable. That kind of response immediately changes the atmosphere. It shows everyone present, including her, that you value yourself enough to protect your standards without becoming emotional or defensive. The goal isn't to control another person's behavior, it's to consistently protect your own. Respect isn't maintained by endlessly tolerating behavior that makes you uncomfortable. It comes from clearly showing people how you expect to be treated. The third boundary is protecting your time instead of giving unlimited access simply because you're interested in someone. This is where many men unknowingly work against themselves. They believe being available at any moment proves interest. They answer instantly, cancel plans, rearrange their schedule, and make the woman their top priority before a real relationship has even formed. From the other side, however, that behavior often sends a different message. Constant availability doesn't necessarily communicate desire. It can suggest that your life lacks direction outside of dating. The pattern is familiar. You meet someone you genuinely like. Things seem promising, so you begin adjusting everything around the possibility of seeing her. Plans with friends disappear. Workouts get skipped. Personal commitments become flexible. Your schedule slowly revolves around her instead of your own priorities. The problem isn't kindness, it's fear. The fear that saying no once might make you lose the opportunity. But women aren't only asking whether you like them, they're also paying attention to whether your life is stable enough to include them without falling apart. If everything else immediately moves aside for them, it can create the impression that nothing else in your life truly matters. Healthy attraction grows when someone sees that you already have purpose before they arrive. A man with meaningful routines, goals, and commitments naturally communicates stability. He doesn't have to pretend to be busy. His life already has momentum. Protecting your schedule doesn't mean acting unavailable or playing games. It simply means honoring the commitments you've already made. When you value your own time, other people naturally begin valuing it too. Imagine she texts late at night wanting to meet immediately, but you already have an early morning, a workout planned, or responsibilities the next day. Instead of abandoning everything, you respond politely and suggest another time that works. There's no guilt, no long explanation, and no attempt to prove your interest. That simple decision sends two powerful messages. First, your time has value. Second, when you do choose to spend time together, it's intentional rather than impulsive. Being constantly busy isn't what creates attraction. Having purpose does. A man with direction doesn't manufacture scarcity because his priorities already exist. That quiet sense of stability is far more attractive than endless availability. The fourth boundary is one many men mistake for emotional closeness. Never allow yourself to become someone's emotional dumping ground before genuine commitment exists. This trap is dangerous because, at first, it feels exactly like connection. She starts sharing deeply personal stories almost immediately. She tells you about painful breakups, difficult family situations, emotional wounds, and how previous relationships left her hurt. She calls late at night, becomes emotional, and says she's never felt so understood. Naturally, you begin to think this means the connection is becoming serious. It feels personal, it feels meaningful, it feels like you've earned a special place in her life. But emotional openness isn't always the same as emotional intimacy. Sometimes what's happening is much simpler. She's discovering how much emotional energy you're willing to invest before the relationship has truly developed. Many men step into that role without realizing it. They spend hours listening, constantly reassuring her, staying awake to comfort her, offering solutions and carrying emotional burdens that were never theirs to carry. Slowly, the relationship changes. Instead of being seen as a romantic partner, you become the person she relies on to regulate her emotions. This is where many men misunderstand the situation. They assume that because she's sharing vulnerable experiences, she's becoming more emotionally attached. In reality, emotional access alone doesn't automatically create attraction. Without mutual investment, it often creates dependency rather than romance. She may appreciate your support, but appreciation isn't always the same as desire. You become dependable, predictable, and comforting, while the excitement and romantic tension gradually disappear. Without realizing it, you've moved into the role of counselor instead of partner. That's why pacing emotional intimacy matters. It isn't about becoming distant or uncaring. It's about allowing trust and vulnerability to grow naturally, instead of giving unlimited emotional support before real commitment exists. Think of emotional closeness as something valuable. Like any valuable resource, it carries more meaning when both people contribute equally. If only one person is constantly investing while the other simply receives, the balance slowly disappears. The important lesson is this: you can care deeply without taking responsibility for someone else's emotional stability. You can listen with empathy without feeling obligated to solve every problem. Being supportive doesn't require sacrificing your own emotional balance. Many men make the mistake of trying to heal every wound they hear about. They become the late-night emergency contact, the problem solver, and the emotional safety net long before the relationship has earned that level of commitment. Ironically, this often interrupts the natural process of emotional bonding. People usually grow closer to what they invest in, not simply to what is always available to them. A healthier approach is much more balanced. Listen carefully, show understanding, be present, but don't immediately take ownership of every emotional challenge she faces. Allow her to handle her own emotions while you maintain your own stability. This protects the natural attraction between two people, because healthy relationships are built on mutual effort. When one person carries all the emotional weight, while the other simply leans, the balance eventually disappears. Some men worry that holding healthy emotional boundaries makes them appear distant. In reality, it creates room for reciprocity. It encourages her to invest emotionally instead of depending entirely on you. That shared investment is what strengthens genuine connection over time. Healthy intimacy isn't created by one person giving everything. It's built when both people gradually choose each other through consistent effort. The fifth boundary is one that often determines whether all the previous boundaries stay intact. Never lose your composure the moment she becomes distant. This is where many men accidentally undo all the progress they've made. Everything seems to be going well. Conversations are flowing, the chemistry feels real, and both of you appear equally interested. Then, almost without warning, something changes. Her replies become shorter. She reaches out less often. The energy feels different. Instead of remaining calm, many men immediately assume something is wrong. That reaction is understandable. When someone you care about pulls back, your first instinct is often to close the distance. You start wondering if she's upset, losing interest, or simply overwhelmed with life. But reacting from fear rarely improves the situation. Your mind immediately starts searching for answers. Maybe she's stressed. Maybe you said the wrong thing. Maybe someone else has her attention. Before you even know it, fear takes over, and that's when many men make the mistake that weakens attraction the fastest. They begin investing more while she's investing less. It usually happens in a familiar pattern. First, you rush to erase the distance. She becomes quieter, so you send extra texts, reply instantly, and keep checking in. Without meaning to, you're communicating that you're uncomfortable whenever she isn't giving you attention. Next, you go into reassurance mode. You remind her you're always there, offer unlimited emotional support, and try to make her feel secure. But beneath those words is something she can often sense: fear. Fear of losing the connection, fear that she's slipping away, fear that if you don't do enough, she'll leave. Then comes overcompensation. You organize more dates, give more compliments, put in extra effort, and try even harder than before, hoping your increased investment will bring back the excitement that seems to be fading. Unfortunately, attraction rarely responds that way. The moment one person withdraws, while the other doubles their effort, the balance changes. Instead of moving toward each other naturally, one begins chasing, while the other controls the pace. Once that pattern becomes established, attraction often starts to disappear. Someone can't truly miss your presence if you're constantly trying to remove every bit of space between you. People only notice absence when absence actually exists. It's also important to remember that distance doesn't always mean the same thing. Sometimes she's simply busy, sometimes she's processing her own emotions, sometimes her interest is changing, and sometimes life is just happening. But reacting with panic creates the same result regardless of the reason. You slowly lose your confidence, your balance, and your self-respect. Many men grow up believing that more effort solves every problem. They learn that persistence proves love, and that showing up even more will eventually fix whatever feels broken. Healthy attraction doesn't always follow that rule. Sometimes the strongest move is allowing space instead of rushing to fill it. When you stop rewarding distance by increasing your effort, only two outcomes are possible, and both provide clarity. If she's genuinely interested, she'll naturally notice the space. She'll begin matching your energy again, conversations become balanced, and the connection returns because both people are choosing to invest. If she doesn't, then your boundary didn't create the distance, it simply revealed what was already happening. That's the difficult truth many men struggle to accept. They worry that giving someone space means they'll lose them, but often they were already losing themselves by trying to hold on too tightly. Never respond to reduced investment by giving even more of yourself. That only teaches the other person they can contribute less while you'll continue contributing more. Once that imbalance becomes the normal pattern, it's very difficult to rebuild mutual attraction. Healthy space accomplishes something endless effort never can. It restores balance. It reminds both people that your attention, your time, and your presence have value. And if someone chooses not to step toward you when that space exists, then you've gained clarity instead of wasting months chasing uncertainty. That's the real strength behind this final boundary. It's not about manipulation or making someone miss you. It's about seeing the relationship clearly without sacrificing your own peace to force an outcome. Everything we've covered today isn't just a list of dating ideas. Together, these 5 boundaries create a framework that helps you protect your self-respect before someone else begins defining your value. Limiting financial access too early protects your position. Addressing disrespect the moment it appears protects your dignity. Valuing your time protects your purpose. Allowing emotional intimacy to develop naturally protects the balance between two people. Staying grounded when someone pulls away protects your confidence and your self-respect. These boundaries naturally filter the people who enter your life. Those who appreciate maturity, consistency, and healthy standards will feel comfortable around them. Those who only benefited when you overgave, over-explained, or over-invested will eventually drift away. That's not failure, that's clarity. Strong boundaries don't make you difficult to love, they make it possible for the right person to know the real you, instead of a version that's constantly sacrificing itself just to keep someone interested. If there's one message I hope you remember, it's this. Your strength doesn't come from demanding more from other people, it comes from expecting more from yourself. If this video gave you a new perspective, subscribe to and stay with the channel. This community is for men who are ready to stop feeling confused, emotionally exhausted, and unsure of their own value. Like this video, share it with someone who keeps giving everything while receiving very little in return, and leave a comment telling me which of these 5 boundaries impacted you the most. The goal of this channel isn't simply to make you feel better, it's to help you stop losing yourself while trying to hold on to someone else. The strongest relationships are built on self-respect, not self-sacrifice. When you protect your boundaries, you protect your peace, your confidence, and your value. If this video gave you a new perspective, subscribe to Carolline Effect, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which of these 5 boundaries do you think every man should master first?